Maggie! Maggie! We're going to need more towels for room XI and XII. Hey, everybody. Give me just a minute. I'll be right with you. Good evening. My name is Nick, and I am owner-operator of the Bethlehem Bed, Breakfast, and Birthplace of the Big JC. That's right, Jesus was born right here in this hotel, where we serve only the finest. We provide the finest accommodations and amenities that anybody could ever want, which is obviously why Mary and Joseph chose us for when it was time to give birth to their beloved son. I knew the first time I laid eyes on that young couple that they would need someplace special, that they would need someplace to give birth to their firstborn child. So I set them up in our deluxe suite, where they would have all the amenities and the privacy that they would need to have this baby proper.
Nick, what are you doing?
Well, I'm just letting these people know how special our place is.
The real story is special enough. She's always right. Okay, well, hi, my name's Nick, and I'm the owner of the Bethlehem Inn. It's true, Jesus was born here, but it wasn't quite like I was explaining it. See, let me start from the beginning. Bethlehem was going absolutely crazy because of the census. A census means that the governor wanted to know how many people he was in charge of. So everybody had to go back to where they were born. Apparently, a ton of people have been born in Bethlehem because this place was crazy. Maggie and I are running all over the place trying to get people set up, and all we hear is, "We need more pillows. Where's a blanket? What time's dinner going to be ready?" It was insane. But great for business. See, before dinner that night, we were already completely full. There wasn't a bed in the whole place. As people mingled throughout the night, they eventually, as the sun went down, they made their way off to their room, and I made my final rounds for the night before locking up. And it was then that this man came through the door with a young woman in his arms. A very young, very pregnant woman. Of course, I greeted them warmly but told them right away, we have no beds. We are completely full. You're going to have to find another place. Have you ever had somebody look you in the eye and you knew they were either going to say something that would change your life or pee themselves? This guy looked at me right in my eyes and he said, "You are our last hope." I'd never been anybody's last hope before, but what was I supposed to do? I can't just conjure up a bed. I can't make something. I'm not going to go to one of our paying customers and ask them to leave. I'm not going to ask people to share rooms so that I can find a place for them. No, there's nothing that I can do. There's got to be someplace else in town. So I walk to the front door and I open it up, and as I look down the street, I see a no vacancy sign on every single other place in town. What was I supposed to do? I shouldn't have to deal with this. This isn't fair. I've got a business to run. Hey, when you're full, you're full. You should just be able to do what you've got to do and not make special arrangements. This was unfair. I'm a businessman. I should be able to run my business. But as I looked at that couple, something in me knew I had to do something.
So I thought, and I thought, and I was like, maybe I can put her in the kitchen. No, not near the food. That's disgusting. Maybe in the hallway we could put some. No, all the noise would wake up all the other guests. I mean, maybe out in the lobby. I mean, it's up in the front of the room, building, but at least out in the. No, we just had the carpets cleaned. No. There was nowhere for this woman to have her baby. And then I heard it. Now, you need to understand, the animals I've got out back, they're making noise all the time. It's actually one of those things where it just becomes background noise. You don't even notice it anymore. But on that night, it sounded like that cow was standing right there in the room next to me. And I had a thought that actually made me laugh out loud.
Whoa.
All of a sudden, the thought occurred to me, hey, Nick, you got the barn. And I started to argue with myself. No way was I going to put her out in the barn. This lady's going to have a baby. I can't put her out in the barn with the animals. That is, oh yeah, I can just see it now. Excuse me, ma'am. I don't have a bed for you, but I do have a lovely stable out here with the animals for you to have your child. Yeah, right. Try telling that to her husband. Excuse me, sir. I don't have a bed, but I do have a lovely bale of hay that I'd like to offer, and I have a food trough for the child. No way. I was not doing this to this family. Let alone, what kind of reputation am I going to get around town? Hey, there goes Nick. He makes people have babies in his barn. There was no way this was going to happen. But then, this thing that began as this crazy thought started to feel more like a nudge on my heart. It started to feel like that the baby being born in my barn was what was supposed to happen. That this baby being here on this night, coming into my place, was part of a bigger story. I couldn't believe I was doing it, but I went back out to the couple and I said, hey, I've got a stable out back. You're welcome to it. They said, we'll take it. Not exactly the way they imagined their first child being born. But they had this calm. They had this peace about them, like they knew that someone greater was in control. Like they knew that they were part of a bigger story. I rushed ahead of them out to the barn to try and tidy it up a little bit. I tried to freshen up the hay and I dumped the extra food that was still left in the food trough for the animals. I dumped it out and tried to make it presentable, but it stunk. I mean, it's where the animals were. It smelled like animals and what animals do. And it was no place for a baby to be born. But this is where this baby would be born. I got him settled and I only came back a little bit later to bring him some fresh towels and some water. And then I left them to have some privacy. And I headed in and I went to bed. But I'm telling you, I didn't sleep a wink. I laid there thinking about what was going on and how did I end up in this place where I had this couple. Why would they come to me? Why was this happening to me? And what did it all mean? And sometime in the early morning, a newborn baby cry shattered the silence. I put on my robe and I made my way back out there just to see if there was anything that I could do. And as I opened the door, there he was. This little baby boy wrapped in the towels that I had brought him.
and laying in that food trough. The father, turns out his name's Joe, thanked me for all my help, and he introduced me to his son, Jesus. That's what the angel had told them to call him. And then Joseph told me the rest of the story. He told me about the angel who had come to Mary and told her of God's plan to save the world through his son. That the Messiah, the one that we had been waiting for generations, was going to be born here in the city of David. I couldn't believe it. The Messiah. We had learned about this in church my whole life. We had been told to wait and to be looking for him, and here he was, a baby. And I'm not one for weak knees, but in that moment, all I could do was worship. And I knelt down next to this thing that the animals had just been eating in. And I worshiped the Son of God, the Messiah who had come to earth. I realized that other than his mom and dad, I was the first one to get to see him. But I wasn't the last one to see him that night. They had some other visitors. Some shepherds showed up. I don't know if you know anything about shepherds, but shepherds are not the guys you want visiting your newborn in the hospital. Okay, these guys smell. These guys have more in common with sheep than people. They're not really respected. Nobody really wants shepherds around, but here they were. And I'm sure it had something to do with angels. But these guys came and they worshiped the baby Jesus too. Here's what I realized that night. I'm a businessman. I'm a planner. I like things to go the way that I want them to go. I like to have a plan. I like to know what's going to happen, what's up. But when God is involved, this showed me that I need to be willing to take my plans, my hopes, my expectations, and trust them with him. Things don't always look the way they're going to look. Things don't always go the way they're going to go. And I don't know where you're at in your life. I don't know what you're experiencing. But I'm sure that you have hopes and dreams just like I do. I'm sure that you've got some sort of plan for your life, or maybe at least for the weekend. And you have this idea of how things are going to go, and you're desperate for them to go exactly that way. Or maybe you've had hopes and dreams, and you've seen some of those hopes and dreams die. And you've wondered how you're going to carry on. You've wondered how you're ever going to be happy, how you're ever going to have joy again. And I want to tell you tonight that when God is involved, he has a bigger plan. You are part of a bigger story. I am part of a bigger story. I didn't expect it. It didn't happen the way I thought it was going to happen, but I'm telling you, my life has never been the same because I let them in. As you celebrate Christmas this year, will you let Jesus in? You have the option. It is possible for you to say, no, you need to go find somewhere else. But if you will let him in, he promises to be faithful. He promises to provide for you. He promises never to leave you and to be with you every step of the way. So as you celebrate Christmas this year, will you let Jesus
into your hopes and your dreams and your plans? Would you be willing to let go of the things that you've been so desperate to hold on to and trust that God's plan is going to lead to life? My life has never been the same. My relationship with God is no longer just religion. It's no longer just going to church. Because I chose to put my trust in the bigger story of who God is and who God wants me to be. And we each have that choice. And I hope that you will let him in. And that you would see the part of the story that he has for you. Maggie, we got some guests out here. Some of them have requested the barn.